Greetings, YouTube family. It's your boy Demas the Yardman, aka Young Kim the First, reporting to you on this lovely Sunday evening. So, interesting news coming from Keith Thurman and the WBC. I know this is supposed to be a report, but this might turn into a rant because this is a topic that holds dear to my heart now. You know, the WBC World Boxing Council is making a mockery out of the sport of boxing. What Mauricio Suleiman and those guys at the head of the WBC doing, it makes absolutely no sense to me. It makes absolutely no sense. So Keith Thurman, former unified welterweight division champion, coming off of a 2-year layoff and a loss to Manny Pacquiao, has been informed that his fight on the 5th of February against Mario Barrios, who has never fought at welterweight before and has never been a super champion in the WBC. He was a regular champion down at junior welterweight. Well, push come to shove, they're saying that this fight has now become a title eliminator fight, meaning that the winner of this fight will become the mandatory and will be petitioned to fight the winner of the Errol Spence Jr. versus your Dennis Ugas fight. And this is ridiculous to me. The WBC always does this. They give people these opportunities that just do not deserve it. They did this with Vasily Lomachenko. How on God's given earth are you getting title fights in your first and your second fight as a professional? It makes no sense. This makes no sense. You're going to give Keith Thurman. And I love Thurman. I'm a fan of Thurman. I've been an advocate for him where a lot of people haven't been an advocate for him. You know, Keith is a very talented guy. But this is ridiculous. He does not deserve this. He does not deserve this. And we know Errol Spence doesn't even want to fight Keith Thurman because ever since Errol Spence came into the welterweight division, well, he was always a welterweight, but ever since he established himself, he's been calling out Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman said, well, get a belt and I'll take you on. Errol Spence goes over to Sheffield, England, beats Kell Brook, gets the IBF belt, calls out Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman dances around him like Michael Jackson in that Thriller video. And now they're going to force Errol Spence to fight this man who Errol Spence said he would never fight because Keith refused to give Errol Spence an opportunity when Keith was the champion and Errol Spence was coming up. And we know that Errol Spence wants the Terence Crawford fight. And now the WBC is trying to push Keith Thurman on Errol Spence Jr. And none of this makes sense. And you can't even argue that Keith Thurman versus Errol Spence Jr. is a bigger fight than Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence Jr. It's just not. They had a little history, yes, and they don't like each other, yes. That's not a bigger fight. Keith Thurman has been in one pay-per-view fight his whole career. And this is a top champion, one pay-per-view fight. And that was against Manny Pacquiao. And Bob Arum said that fight didn't even do 500,000 buys. You understand what's going on here? It didn't even do 500,000 buys. And that's with Manny Pacquiao. One of the greatest pay-per-view stars of the last 2 decades. We need to make this make sense, man. What the WBC is just proving to you that you don't need to do no hard work to accomplish anything or earn anything in boxing. They just give it to these guys that they like. It's very mind-boggling how they could come to this. Jerron Boots Ennis, Virgil Ortiz Jr., even Danny Garcia, who's come off of a couple losses, that I could list at least 5 welterweights who deserve a chance over Keith Thurman. And like I said, don't get me wrong, Keith is a very good boxer. He's slick. He has power in his hands, hence his nickname Thurman. He only gotta hit you once. You know, he's smart. You know, he's charismatic. He markets himself well. But, yeah. And let me come off the WBC and their antics. Because I used to think the PBC could do no wrong. Al Heyman and those guys over there at Showtime Boxing. It's crazy. How are you going to say that you have no money for a Terence Crawford fight with Errol Spence Jr., but you have money for a Keith Thurman fight? So you think fans are going to pay to see Errol Spence Jr. versus Keith one-time Thurman, but they won't pay for Terence Crawford? This is all bad. This is all bad. If Errol Spence Jr. beats Yordenis Ugas in April, as we all expect him to, he will have 3 of the major belts. Terence Crawford has the other of the 4 major belts. It's already the biggest fight in boxing without it being for undisputed. You're telling me Errol Spence beats Yordenis Ugas, gets the 3 other belts, but his fight with Keith Thurman is a bigger fight? I don't know what it's going to take for the WBC to start acting like a responsible commission body that actually has the best interest of boxing in mind. But this is getting ridiculous. And even the PBC too, the antics are getting exposed more and more by the minute. Now, all I can say in defense of Terence Crawford, which is kind of hard to defend because he put himself in that situation and he kept re-signing with Top Rank and Bob Arum and those folks. But Bob did a terrible job at promoting Terence Crawford. And now we're in a situation where Terence Crawford is considered the best fighter in the world. He's in everybody's top 3 pound for pound. 90% of the people will put him as number 1 pound for pound in the world. And he's only making $3 million a fight. And a casual will say, oh, $3 million, that's a lot of money. Not for a top athlete. Not for a man of Terence Crawford's stature. When you have men like Devin the Dream Haney making $3 million a fight, and he's 21 years old, only a champion in 1 division. You have Gervonta Tank Davis, 28 years old, started boxing late, like came late up in the scene. He's making crazy money. You know, Errol Spence Jr., he's on the pay-per-view platform, and if I'm not mistaken, his last fight with Danny Garcia, he got somewhere around the region of 10 million plus pay-per-view splits. It's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous, this stuff that's going on. You know, with that being said, I do like the fight with Keith Thurman and Errol Spence Jr., but we have to call a spade a shovel here, guys. Keith Thurman does not deserve this fight. He does not. He does not. And how the WBC came to the conclusion that they're going to give a man that had a loss 2 years ago, might I add. Keith Thurman hasn't fought since 2020, summer of 2020, when he lost to past his prime 40-year-old, and I'm being generous by 40 because he's over 40, a 40-year-old Manny Pacquiao. And this is the man that they're going to give. When you have Jaron Boots Ennis, the way they ignore this kid from Philadelphia, undeniably the most talented boxer coming up. Even overlooking Virgil Ortiz Jr. You're telling me Virgil Ortiz Jr. versus Errol Spence, 2 Dallas natives, Dallas versus Dallas rivalry. They had a little personal bickering going on back and forth. You're going to endorse Keith Thurman over this? It hurts my heart. It hurts my soul. It hurts my brain. It doesn't make sense. That's all I have for y'all for now. Until next time, once again, you're listening to Demas the Yardman, aka Young Kim the First. God bless you all. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, even dislike. I'm looking for all feedback. The channel is new, positive or negative. I'm listening to all. I'm listening to all feedback. I love you all. Good night.